I was in the Navy for 22 years, reserve time. Military Sea Lift Command headquarters. The Military Sea Lift Command is basically the branch of the service that transports by ship cargoes, food, tanks, anything that the military needs. And I was working as a consultant for an insurance company when the planes flew into the building down in New York, and the company that I worked for lost 1/3 of its company, and they laid off consultants because they weren't employees, and it's cheaper to lay off consultants. And so I have 6 kids, and two are in college, and one wanted to, so I came here for the tuition remission. It's as simple as that. Okay? 18 months. On the 18th month, my daughter came to school. It was offered to me to somebody that worked here, said, "Why don't you come here?" And when I came, and they said, "Oh, hello." Yeah, we talked, and I came.
I came to BU when I was in my 30s, and I had a lot of personal problems. I went through a divorce. My baby died, and I was nuts. I was really nuts. And I met this guy, John Silver, through some strange coincidence. He became my mentor, and he had me, he yelled at me, screamed at me in like 4 different languages, because he knew German, he knew, how to speak Jewish, he knew English, he knew all kinds of genius. Well, he's screaming at me. He wanted to send me to college, So it's okay. And I got angry with him. I said, "Okay, you son of a bitch." I said, "I'll go." And we had this crazy conversation. Well, I went, And I was in my 30s, and I was like going on 60, And my very first paper in college, go back and picture your very first paper. Well, I got a B in my paper. I was so damn excited. I couldn't believe it. So, my brother, who at the time worked for the BU Police, happened to be driving John Silver somewhere, and he told him. So I got a phone call in my dorm from John Silver, and he said, "Gene," he said, "I'll see you in my office tomorrow morning at 8:30. So I said, "Oh man," I said, "where do you see my paper?" I said, "My paper." "Yeah, we'll see." So I go down to the president's office, right? And he pulls in a guy named John Westwood. Now, John, at the time, was the provost. I think it was the provost, or vice president. But he later became president. So now I got 2 presidents going through my paper. And he puts, like some to John, something. And they're both going, screaming at me. "You call this a blankety B paper?" And they yank out red magic markers, and they went through my papers, destroyed them. And I'm walking down Bay State Road back to my dorm, and I'm crying like a baby. And there's my paper dripping with red magic marker, And I'm gonna die. So then, can you imagine having your paper corrected by the president, and then told to return it back to your professor with that note on the bottom? You know what I'm saying? And the professor almost had a stroke in front of me, So a couple of weeks later, I got another paper, and I said to my brother, I said, "Hey, I got a." No, I didn't get anything. He said, "Yes, you did." And he called up the president and said, "Guess what? Congressman Gene, I'll see you in the office tomorrow morning." Well, let me tell you something. I was one ignorant son of a bitch before I came to BU. And if it wasn't for that guy, when he got through with me, I was ready for anything.
I worked security for Shaw Nuclear prior to this. I headed up the security for their main building. They build the nuclear power plants. I worked there, and they were bought out by Chicago Virgin Iron. and they were also moving everything. Dan, a friend of mine that was heading up security in the secondary building, the supervisor was going to take his job so that the supervisor had a place to work because there was no place for him to work. And I thought it was wrong, to displace Dan for that. So I told Dan, I said, well, I'll tell you what, you take my building. It's easier for me to find a job than for you to find a job. So that was on Thursday night that this all came down. That night I went home, went online to BU's website, and I filled out for 3 different positions. One was for security. I wanted something that wouldn't be a conflict of interest because my normal job is I do programming and data processing work. My own company, and I've been doing it since 1983. Didn't want anything to do with computers because it would have been a conflict of interest. Actually, one of my first clients back in 1983 was Boston University, so that was really funny. But anyways, that was on a Thursday night that I filled those out. Friday, I got like 3 phone calls on Friday, and they wanted me to come in on Monday to interview me. And I came in on Monday, and they had me start on Tuesday. So working at night works out real well for me because it allows me during the day to handle my programming process. But because of the crash, there were a lot of buyouts, mergers, people that were laid off that were contacts of mine, everything. And I was never a salesperson. All the business that I had achieved through the years was all by word of mouth. Okay, they always came to me. It got to the point where it was actually so busy that I was turning down work. But again, it fell off, and I'm a programmer, so I tried my hand at sales when things fell off. I just don't know how to sell. And the thing is that because I worked out of my home, and my clients always knew that they could contact me, so you were never away from work. Okay? And lots of years that went by that I couldn't get a vacation. So I would be sending my brother and friends off on vacation, but I couldn't get in on it myself or whatever because the clients wouldn't let me go. I find myself a lot more happy now. So even if it got busy as it was before, I think that a job like this I would keep so that I could get away from work.
I actually worked in customer service at Quest Diagnostic Laboratory, and I've done that for over the last 10 years, and unfortunately I was laid off. My job in Cambridge was sent to Tampa, Florida, because it was cheaper to pay someone in Florida versus Massachusetts, and so I lost my job, and I needed a way to support myself, so I applied for a security officer position, and I got the position, and here I am. I feel like what we do as security officers is very important because I've had some scary people try to enter the dorm, and so to be here and to say no, you can't enter, to keep the students safe, I think is something that I value, and you feel like you're making a difference. It's important. I know it look like we do nothing, but it's a lot of responsibility. We do a lot. This is more to this job than what you see. The scariest event that happened, I was at Warren Towers. It was a young lady. She was intoxicated, and we didn't realize it because she was sitting a distance, but maintenance came and complained and said that the young lady had threw up everywhere. So at that point, I walked over to see if she was okay. So the young man, he said, "Oh, no, 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 she's okay, she's okay. And please, please, she's okay." And so he said that it's that time of the month. And so with me being a female, I wasn't buying that story. Yeah, no. So then we asked the student to stand up and to walk, because we were going to let her pass. But what happened is she couldn't walk. So at that point, for her own safety, we did have to call BUPD, and she was transported to Boston Medical. And she came back, and we thought she was going to be mad because she came back at 5 in the morning. And I think she might have been transported out at like 1 or 2. But she came back at 5 in the morning. She said, "Thank you."